Okay, we're here, we're live, we're Think Tech Talks on community matters because they do. And we're talking about sustainability today. We're talking about, as a matter of fact, intergenerational equity. You probably haven't heard that before, but you will know shortly what that means. With Rob Kinslow with Olamano Creations, but more appropriately, perhaps sustainability in general. You're a sustainability
advisor.
Yeah, so, and guru person.
Well, I help companies and individuals and organizations understand how they can apply sustainability in their businesses and organizations.
Okay. All right, let's just hold that thought.
Yeah.
How did you get to that place? I mean, did you study that in the 5th grade?
Well, no, I studied it actually when I was even younger than that. I was born and raised on a farm in Western Maryland. I spent most of my childhood embedded in nature. And so I came to understand that deep connection with nature. And then when I went and became an aerospace engineer, I discovered that I was building machines that kill people. I wanted to actually help people. So after 13 years of that, yeah, I quit. I had a little epiphany, and I quit and came to Hawaii and studied Lomi Lomi massage, and then I just got a master's at HPU in sustainable development. So that's kind of the capstone of this whole connection with what sustainability really means, which is really our relationship with nature.
Okay, so let's parse that a little bit.
Sure.
The epiphany about killing people, that is so interesting.
Yeah.
You know, because, I mean, how many years ago was that?
That was 15 years ago.
15 years ago. And 15 years ago, we were still really in the military-industrial complex. I suppose we still are, but it's not the same anymore.
Yeah, it isn't.
And Snowden reveals that somehow.
Yeah, and I think financial things have finally caught up with us as well. And so we're starting to see that this top-heavy organizational militarism is not really going to get us to where we want to be.
So, but it takes a lot. There you are in a really primo job.
Yeah.
Doing, at the top of the heap in American industrial society.
Yeah.
And you have the chutzpah, that's a French word. You have the chutzpah to say, turn your back on it and just leave, say goodbye. It must have been an interesting epiphany discussion you had when you let go.
Well, I was scared, basically. You have, $60,000, $70,000 a year income, and every time you make motions of leaving, they start throwing more money and more projects at you. And but what really sealed the deal in a way was I was walking down this hallway one day in my locked-in, secure area that I worked in, and I saw a little old man walking at me, and he was just shuffling. And it turns out he was the oldest man at Northrop. And he had worked on the YB-49, which was the metal version of the B-2. And now he's working on the B-2. And here he was, his skin was gray and his eyes were downcast and he looked like a wreck physically. And I went, that's me if I don't get out of here. And so that was, and then that coupled with the ethical stuff, communist, because I cared about people and planet. At my job.
I mean, in the company?
In the company. Yeah. People would call me a communist before that. Those two things helped me kind of separate myself.
Good for you. Good for you. But you were worried because now, what about income?
Yeah.
What about all the the treasures of the technical class in our country? Yeah.
That was one of those.
So, I mean, did you have money problems?
I did. I have sometimes, and it's. Fits and starts.
It's okay.
But as soon as I,
maybe you should join Think Tech. We know about this.
Well, I'm happy to help you out however I can. That's why I'm here. I appreciate your work over the years. I followed you for several years.
Thank you, Rob. The other thing that strikes me, these are just reactions to the scenario you painted, is that I went to a graduation once at the University of Phoenix. Apollo, they're still in business. They're still actually doing well. They're, a figment of the age of the internet. And I saw the people getting graduated from various programs, undergraduate and then masters and PhD. Yeah. And it was in the Hawaii Theater, as I recall. Maybe it was in Blaisdell, but it was a lot of people. And there were so many different kinds of degrees.
Yeah.
When I went to school, it's just you get a bachelor's in art or a bachelor's in science or a graduate degree in a specific discipline. Yeah. It wasn't all this stuff. I am certain, to a moral certainty, they had no sustainability studies when I went to school. Yeah. And now you can study anything. You can be a specialist in anything you want. Mm-hmm. And if you look back at we had a woman named Carol Christian, last week who goes around and talks to high school seniors, gives them advice. To me, it's really important. I'm sure you went through this. It's really important to pick those topics, pick that degree after a lot of thought, because that actually, points you to a career. It's not for drill.
Well, you're absolutely right. What you're alluding to is alignment. And when I was aerospace
That's the word she used.
When I was an aerospace engineer, I was actually also the executive director of a land trust that we formed in Los Angeles, and we ended up saving 640 acres on which Steven Spielberg wanted to build a studio, DreamWorks, upon which Howard Hughes has already built the Spruce Goose, which was polluted and had Native American graves and endangered species. So we ended up saving that, but I was doing both those things at the same time because I wasn't in alignment on my income. I had to use my income to supplement what I really wanted to do, which was help people and show the connection between humans and nature. So I had early success, and I was happy about it. That's what showed me that alignment matters, that when you're choosing your topic or your subject or your career, alignment matters.
But alignment changes.
Alignment changes.
I feel that we have one of the great luxuries of the human race, and it's happening now. It's the ability to change your life.
Yeah.
You don't have to get in a rut and stay. It wasn't too many years ago.
Yeah.
You get your job, you work your job, you do all those specific things. You finish your job, you go to retirement, you die. That's simple. It was not complicated to think about the future. All you had to do was live. That's all.
Yeah.
To the point.
Get a corporate
of
job, get a
expectancy,
pension.
Right?
Yeah.
Now you can know the career.
Yeah.
You can change the alignment. You can go back to school.
Yes.
You can do what your heart tells you.
Yeah.
You can sort of follow a changing world and change your life to align it to a changing world. Isn't that something? It's wonderful.
And you can do that better when you don't have kids. When you bring people into the planet, I'm the eldest of 11, so I had my kids early in a way because I was the eldest. So I feel lucky that way. I got a good childhood and embedded in nature, understand that connection, got a good childhood raising other children, my own family, and now I'm able to do the things that I want to do in my life. And so that's easy to actually go back to school, if you have the funds and the resources.
It's really...
So that's what I do. Now I'm elevating my game to try to help others be more aligned and sustain themselves from corporations understanding why it's profitable to be sustainable in their business. But you know what?
It's good that you're in aerospace first.
It is,
because
actually.
you can make the comparison.
Yeah.
It's in relief, so to speak.
Yeah.
You can see both sides of the question. This makes it
Yeah.
all the more exquisite
Yeah.
to make the choices.
And the
you
analytical skills and the project management skills all have really
Yeah.
translated directly over into my new world. So.
Okay, new world.
Yeah.
That's the thing we got to talk about. What, qu'est-ce que c'est, is the new world for you, Rob?
Well, you talked about contrast, and you really have to set it up, this proposition of sustainability. I mean, with 7.15 billion people on the planet and, 200,000 coming in every week or so.
Yeah, whoops, 7.16.
Okay, yeah, see, exactly.
Whoops.
All with aspirations to be as the West is, with, water and ready-made food and fossil fuel energy and lifestyle and cars, all that. That is, it actually is not sustainable. You look at the footprint analysis that the World Footprint Network does, and we are using up 2.5 Earths. If we had 2.5 Earths to be using up at that rate. The rate can increase temporarily, but until we hit the boundary, which we haven't hit yet, we haven't hit all the ecosystems aren't in collapse. There's still minerals and water and plants and sunshine to fuel our thing, but it's a temporary situation. The fossil fuel era is almost over. So we have to start planning for this transition into another era that's not fueled by these hydrocarbons that we've had the benefit of for the last 200 years. So that's the basic proposition, whether it's food or whether it's energy or whether it's water, all these things you hear on the news and you hear people talking about today, they're all indicators that are pointing towards unsustainability. So what is sustainability with 7.15 billion people on the planet? We've never experienced that.
Can I hold you on
Sure.
that point? Don't want you to forget where you are, but I think it was 60 Minutes this past weekend had a thing about the Pope.
Yeah.
About Pope Francis, great Pope.
Yeah. Seems
he's
to be so far.
breaking barriers down.
Yeah.
He's doing things that are creative, reaching out to people, talking to individual
Acting
people.
like a human.
Yeah, almost like an ordinary person. But the one thing that he refuses to change is the church's position on abortion.
Yeah.
And I'm saying to myself, you talk about
7.15
7.15 or 7.16, whatever it is. People in the world, and you talk about a shortage of this and a shortage of that, and this huge population using all these resources and damaging the source of the earth, the source of the resources. Doesn't it come down to we haven't been smart about controlling population for ethical arguments? We haven't been smart about keeping that number down, and now we have an oversupply of people and an undersupply of resources.
Yes, absolutely. That's exactly the basic proposition. GDP has gone up, and natural capital has gone down. Number of people has gone up. The number of nature, the amount of nature and the ecosystems in which we're embedded and depend upon have gone down. One other thing that you mentioned about, I just want to touch on the population thing. You're right, we haven't managed population. Why is that? Scientists and sociologists say that we haven't managed our population because we haven't educated our women well enough. That if you educate women about family planning,
They can say no.
that they can say no. But when you keep them in a submissive role, in a out of the workplace role, in a role of no decision making or involvement in decision making, then we have this oversupply of babies and humans. And I'm not necessarily saying I'm for abortion, but I am for understanding family planning and knowing that family planning can start before conception. And that, they talk about negawatts in energy. The negawatt is the watt that you don't use.
Yeah, the nega baby.
Well, I made a decision some time ago not to bring any babies into the planet because I had already known about the situation that we're in.
Mind.
Yes,
Good
exactly.
for you. Yeah.
So, I mean, that limits my choices in the feminine world, in terms of my partners, because people, some women still naturally want babies, and I understand that.
Let's approach it from a governmental point of view instead of a woman and family.
But that number one thing, educating women.
Okay. So who has to educate women? I mean, it's not going to be
question.
the church. It's not going to be any church, I think, even a church that believes in abortion. Who is it going to be? And this goes to the question of whether government in general understands this, what we're talking about here, the undersupply of resources and the oversupply of people. Because if government did understand it, government would have done exactly what you suggest. They would have, something along those lines. They would have educated women, or they would have done something to incentivize, like the one-child policy in China. Yeah. They would have done something to control the population.
Well, don't forget, we have basically three sectors of society: civil society, business, and government. That's kind of a standard way to break out society. Fair. So business has a role in educating women. Business has a role in making sure they get paid for equal competency. And government does as well. But government and business have learned to get along really well. But the civil, we still have an adversarial relationship between the civil and the big business and the big government thing. So we need to understand we're all actors in this human race, and we can't do this politics of division very much longer and continue to support our people.
True. So
I didn't answer your question.
Well, okay, let me reframe it a little. So who has to do this? Who's responsible for doing this? I mean, because inherently in your question and your thought about educating women is the notion that they are not educated.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not them.
Yeah.
It's got to be somebody to take the mantle up and educate them. Who is that person?
Okay. Well, I think it's an institutional role, whether that's government or business. I think it's institutional. I think that our schools have to give women more opportunities. I think our businesses have to give more. I think our government has to, Title 17 was a great example of giving women opportunities in sports. So we got to give women opportunities. Now, and mostly the largest population in the Western world, population is declining. But it's in the developing world where we need family planning, we need education of women, we need to help them understand their role in tomorrow's world.
Yeah, that's critical.
Yeah, and so it's institutional. It's aid organizations, it's governments, it's intergovernmental relations, it's large global institutions that seemingly want to have this responsibility, but they seemingly only want to have responsibility for the profit end of things, and they want to socialize the cost and privatize the profits. That's seemingly what is going on right now. And so I think there's a role for many actors to educate and provide opportunities for women to educate themselves. Now, I'm not saying women are not uneducated. in the West, we have very educated women, but in the developing world, we could surely need some more education.
And the West has to pay attention to that.
Yeah, because
we have to make all boats rise.
that wave is coming at us in the future.
Right.
So
drawing down
what
on
happens over there?
resources that we need.
Another central premise of sustainable development is that there is no way, there is no us and them. We're all in this together, and nature teaches that too. We are one. And so the more we have this politics of division and divide ourselves up into these things, into these classes, and into these, justice is a really important part of sustainability. Eco-justice, social justice, those are really important metrics for sustainability.
Okay, before the break, which is in a few minutes, I wanted to go further on exactly what you do. So you consult with companies.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Okay, so I serve as a director of the Sustainability Association of Hawaii, which is an organization whose mission is to educate, advocate, and promote business activities that are sustainable.
Did you create the organization?
I did not create the organization. The organization was created in a number of 7 or 8 years ago by a guy who used to be the head of Hagedorn. And he saw a need and set up a nonprofit called the Sustainability Association of Hawaii, which is really for businesses. And so we educate businesses about how they can incorporate the triple bottom line into their practices, into their business.
Do they come to you, or do you come to them?
At this point, we have to go out. We have to go out and say, hey, this is who we are. These are the benefits of joining us. Would you like to join us? So it's it's a promotional campaign at the moment, and it's been around for a while in Hawaii, but we haven't really taken off yet. So
Did you do it personally? I mean, as a director or employee or agent?
It's a volunteer organization.
Yeah, the directors are active then doing
The
it.
directors are active. Yeah. By the way, anybody out there interested, we're looking for new directors because we just had some resignations. So, but I do it as an expression of my goodwill to the community, and at the moment I don't get paid for it.
Okay.
And this is the hard part, to get paid for sustainability. That CEOs and COOs and CFOs, they don't yet get it. And
yeah,
so I
focus
think
it's a drag.
But it's not actually. It's a profit center.
Business,
it's a profit center.
I agree. You got to show them that.
Yeah.
So it works like this. I mean, I'm trying to just imagine. Sure. I have a business. Say it's a medium-sized business. Say it has 50 employees. Mm-hmm. Say I'm selling widgets and I have trucks and wireless and whatnot, and customers and all this. And I'm in Mapunapuna somewhere. Okay, is that enough of a profile for it?
Gotcha.
So my name comes up on your list.
Yeah.
And you call me and say, "Hi, Jay. I'm from Sustainability Hawaii." What happens after that?
So I asked to meet you. I come out and look at your operation, and we do a checklist of things. What are your inputs? What are your outputs? Where are your cost centers? What are your fuel? What do you use to run the business? And then we talk about the process, which is first changing behaviors. What's the low-hanging fruit that all I have to do is change the way I do things? In other words, wasteful behaviors like, using, spending $1,000 a month on paper cups that I really could buy regular cups and my employees would reuse them, or changing my fleet over to a hybrid vehicle, or finding out what my waste stream is and deciding how to divert some of that waste into recyclables, and so that my waste, or finding out what my sewage costs are and how to make my sewage gray and black, so that the black goes to the reclamation center and the gray may go to water the lawn out here. So all of these strategies, it's called conservation, efficiency, and then the last strategy is then really redoing your whole business model so that it's pointed in the direction of sustainability.
Well, sure. It's like in the old days when a company didn't have a website.
Yeah.
So the
exactly.
website guy would go to them and say, I can give you a website.
Yeah.
And the guy in the business would say, okay, let's do a website. Everybody else is doing a website, but didn't realize that the website changes the whole business.
Yeah, the website changes. Exactly. Well, sustainability
you have to reinvent yourself.
Sustainability focus will require you to kind of change your business. But usually people, when they do this kind of thing, they recognize cost savings of 30 to 50%. So, but see, humans are set up differently. A cost avoidance is not as attractive as money in the bank. So they'd rather go for the money in the bank rather than avoid costs. So it's
a hard sell.
It's a hard sell. So, but in Hawaii, we don't have such a hard sell in most people.
So I would have guessed the other way, because I think a lot of business guys in Hawaii, straight line.
Yeah.
You know, just keep going down that path,
Yeah.
and you don't change anything unless you absolutely have to. We do it this way because we always did it
Yeah.
this way. Don't talk to me about change.
I
You don't find that?
I don't find that so much. I think people in Hawaii are much more willing to listen.
Good.
And so, and listening, of course, is just the first step, because then you have to act if you're going to act. And,
Do they act?
It's the acting that is the hard part.
How do you get them to act?
I'm still discovering that.
A moment of deep
Silence.
breathing.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. A moment of silence. You know, I ask them what their needs are, basically, and then I try to meet their needs. And I'm discovering all this myself because I'm just out of school for a year now. I volunteer over at the Hogan Entrepreneur Program.
Oh, do you?
So I
Oh,
helped
good.
John
Okay,
Webster
that's
over there, did a presentation.
Oh, you were there yesterday. There was a program.
Yeah, and I did a talk a few weeks ago on sustainability in business, and the young entrepreneurs now have set up an after talk discussion group that I'll be facilitating here in next week.
So is there a book?
I'm really looking at that. When you said intergenerational equity, I'm looking at the next generation because adults are resistant.
Well,
adults are like, they're set in their ways.
But that's the big argument.
Exactly.
The I mean, I get that.
Yeah.
It's the big argument, the big motivators. This is for your kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Whether you like it or not, you have
Yeah.
to. Let's take a short break. This is going at such a fast
Light
pace
speed,
here.
yeah.
You know? And we'll come back. We'll talk about Al Gore. I want to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. That's Rob Kinslow,
Money Creations.
Creations, but also more importantly, maybe, is Sustain Hawaii here on Think Tech Talks. Talking about community matters because they do. Sustainable and intergenerational equity. This is very important. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dr. Rafi. Every week, I'm right here at Think Tech Hawaii, 3 p.m. on Mondays. My show is Boards' Bio Briefings. What do we do here? Well, we watch sperm swim. We see if they catch anybody. We check out the latest biosimilars. You know, the kind that, what was his name, the guy with the bicycle? I guess we forgot his name, but he was taking EPO and other human growth factors. We'll be talking about human growth factors. You want to know where to get some? Maybe I'll tell. Anyway, you can catch me, as I said, every week right here, Monday, 3 p.m., Think Tech Hawaii, Dr. Rafi. You can also find me on Twitter, Bioinfo Medical. Or you can catch me on Facebook, Dr. Rafael Boritzer. I'll be happy to converse with you. Aloha.
You want to make a message? Okay. You know, we had this break just now, and I realized that you know, Rob was actually involved in the creation, the formation of Al Gore's ideas. Whoa,
Well,
what a surprise. Well, okay, but you'll see what I mean.
Yeah.
That's Rob Kinslow, who is with Sustainability Hawaii. Here we are in Think Tech Talks. We're talking about community matters, and we're talking about intergenerational equity in the Department of Sustainability. So let's go back. So I want to cover with you, you know, what happened with Al Gore the other night, 2 nights ago. But then you mentioned during the break, you know, that you actually were part of a group that consulted with him. Huh?
Well,
tell me about that.
Yeah, good. I would like to clarify a little bit. So I was one of 9 people in Hawaii who were selected in 2007 to go be trained by him. So Al Gore had this inconvenient truth.
Oh, you were going to train? He was going to train you?
He trained us.
Okay.
Yeah. So Inconvenient Truth came out. He made, you know, quite a bit of money off that. Got a, you know, award for that. He said,
Yeah,
"I'm going to."
What was it?
Emmy or a Grammy, one of those two.
Award,
Academy
something.
Award,
Yeah, yeah.
And he said, I'm going to take all the money that comes in from that film and I'm going to put it into training people like me. So I'm going to, he did one of the 5 things that social activists do, which is train your replacement. And so he's trained like 5,600. I have been, yes, I have been. That's one of the hats.
Just want to square that away. Yeah,
yeah I social for good, you know, for the betterment of humanity. But Al went ahead and trained 5,600 people, and I was one of the first 16,000. So, not 16,000. I was one of the first. 16,000 applications come in. I was one of them. Other people in Hawaii, 8 other people in Hawaii. So now I'm one of his mentors because I've given 70 presentations on climate change in Hawaii and Africa and around the world. And he's now said, why don't you come help me train the next generation? So he
Oh, okay.
sends
So
me to his
You're
trainings.
not a mentor to him, but you belong to him as a mentor to others.
Exactly. So
Okay.
he's obviously I first met him and heard about him and participated in one of the very first webinars in Venice Beach, California in 1996, which he was giving, which was like basically over the radio, but it actually, you turn your radio up and your computer on, it was very, but anyway, so that's another role I serve in his organization.
Okay, so here we are. It's the Stan Sheriff
Yeah.
Auditorium. It's, Tuesday night, 2 days ago. The rain is drizzling down. The crowd is coming from all directions. They're all walking by the ball field there where some guys playing in the rain. I saw all that. And the place fills up.
Yeah.
It was pretty much filled up. And the press said there were 9,000 people there. And the students were around in the bleachers seats, and then there were the VIPs, lots of VIPs. You were there in the VIP seat. I was in the press seat taking a picture.
Nice.
I have it all on tape.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. So here we are, and first of all, I guess Tom Apple got up, the chancellor, and talked about the connection of this in the university. That was meaningful. Then some other fellow, I didn't catch his name, got up, an elderly man. Who was
The
that?
Pauly, Stephen Pauly, who was actually his fund, brought Al Gore here.
Oh, is that right? Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So it was a sort of he was the guy who paid the cost.
Paid the bills, yeah. And by the way, the sound on the floor was not any good at all.
No, but I got good sound
You
because
got
I was
good
in the
sound.
press section.
Yeah.
We had it wired.
The sound on the floor
Pays
was
to
no
be
good.
press. Yeah. You had an echo, I know, because
Yeah, a real
the
echo.
speakers were coming from various. There's an
The
acoustics
important people
question
couldn't
here.
hear hardly a word.
Yeah, oh, too bad.
Yeah.
But you could see his
Yeah.
charts and graphs. It was interesting.
Very interesting.
Okay, and then Brian Schatz got up there. They say Brian calls the shots. Anyway, his campaign office is 50 feet away. I don't know
I
if
didn't
you
know
noticed that.
No, I didn't. I came in the other way.
I just saw Chuck Friedman, one of his lieutenants, on the way in. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, so Brian makes some, very important remarks, and Brian has been a sustainability guy and an energy guy as lieutenant governor, and he's carrying that forth to the Senate, which is really a great thing in our time. Talk about being in alignment, you know. That. Okay, and then finally Al Gore speaks. And it was interesting because he walked back and forth. It was hard to train a camera on him for that reason. All the cameramen were trying to train their cameras on him. But he's really a pro now. He says he's still learning how to make a speech, but he's pretty good. And there he goes. And it was shades of the Inconvenient Truth movie.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen him.
Updated.
Yeah, updated, right. With fabulous PowerPoint. This is PowerPoint to die for.
Got the best
you
graphic
know?
designers.
So did he reach you? I mean, did he tell you stuff you didn't know? Was the update something that was profound or a surprise in any way?
Not really, because as one of his mentors, I receive all his slides. I cannot give them to anybody else, but I receive them and am able to use them in my presentation.
cool.
So I have access to over 1,000 slides for climate. All that being said, nothing really much new. What is always new with Mr. Gore that I really appreciate is his enthusiasm, the way he segues from slide to slide, the way he moves around the stage, the way he makes points. All of those types of indicators of a public speaker are interesting to me. The facts aren't so much interesting to me because, in my view, facts don't. I know the facts first of all, but second of all, facts don't move people. I mean, academics, yes. But the average person, facts, you know what facts do? They freeze people sometimes, especially if they're negative facts. And so in my presentations, and Al Gore talks about this, he has a hope budget. In his presentations, he has budgets I have a budget for wildfires, I have a budget for hurricanes, I have a budget, and it's about time, and it's about emphasis, and he has a hope budget. And so he constantly sprinkling, we can do this. Remember, he kept saying, we're going to win this thing. So, and his ending was just so spot on. It was an elegant ending. And so I look for things like that.
Summarize the
the elegant ending is that, political will is a renewable energy. And political will is the only thing that's standing in our way of dealing appropriately with the climate crisis.
Yeah. And to me, that was the difference between the movie and what happened on Tuesday night. That he was really trying to motivate people to do something.
He's a passionate guy.
He was laying a path out. This has got to be what he does all day, huh?
Yeah.
This is it for him.
This is it. I mean, the Climate Reality Project, which is his new project, it was Climate Project, then he added Climate Reality because there was quite a few, the denial. he was responding to that. And so he's added quite a bit of proactive reality stuff in there. That's why it's so factual driven, because he really thinks that, he's a science guy. So he thinks that science is important to people, and it is, but reality is important. But that's why he keeps his chart so graphically simple, because he knows that it can be overwhelming to a lot of
and
people.
the charts, really, the graphics were spectacular in the sense that they showed you, the message right away.
Yeah.
They were not overwhelming. They were clear. You could take it away. And for me, they had a tremendous amount of credibility.
Yeah.
Because I had the sense that he had vetted this information right down to the measurement.
When he does a training and there's 450 new trainees in the room, which is where it was the last time in San Francisco, he has Jim Hansen and all these scientists sitting on the stage with him, and they vet him in real time. If he makes a mistake, they stop him and say, hey, you got to say it this way, or this is a better way of looking at it.
Probably the most powerful graphic was the one where he did average.
Oh, the bell curve.
The bell curve. And it started in a few years ago. I can't remember what year. Not too many years ago.
Yeah, in the 90s.
In the 90s, yeah. When he made the movie.
Yeah.
And then he updated it, and you could see that the bell curve had moved substantially to higher levels.
The number of hot days. Are becoming more frequent. Yeah. It's not so much that we're not having cold or hot days, but the number of hot days is becoming more frequent.
Well, a lot of people, when it's a particularly hot day, I mean, I'm sure you have the same reaction. I say, gee, this is a really hot day. We've had a lot of hot days. This is different than it was. Yeah. And a lot of people will say, nah, it's just temporary. Yeah. It's just a season. Yeah. Don't worry about it. It'll be fine.
Well, that's why you got to look at trends. With climate, you got to really look at trends.
That's why the bell curve was so powerful.
Exactly.
That showed you the trend, and it showed you, this is something to be concerned about.
Yeah.
So
where do you want to go? What else do you want to talk about?
Well, I want to talk about the action part of his speech.
Okay.
Because that's your challenge too, and I think it's all of our challenge. Yeah. Political will is maybe the wrong term.
Yeah, maybe.
It's political action is the right one.
Yeah.
I don't think he talked about this, but Blumberg last year, before his term was up, he actually started construction projects to protect Manhattan.
Right.
From sea level rise in the Hudson River, in the East River, and all that, which is going to come.
Yeah.
And he started some very serious infrastructure. New York somehow can do that, even in the days of Robert Moses, building all those highways and bridges. I mean, we have trouble here doing that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying rail is necessarily a good thing, but if you seize on a project, then you make a decision, you go forward with it. And Blumberg, like Robert Moses, could actually do that. And so that's political will with action.
Yeah.
And
but again, it's a defensive thing. So he's defending the coastline. He's defending the current structures.
But he's taking some action.
Taking action.
So now here, I can tell you that SOWEST, in fact, this was at least technically by invitation of SOWEST. What's the name of the school? SOWEST has a school within it.
Oh.
And SOWEST made the request to Al Gore to come out here.
Okay, and then the Paulies jumped in and funded it.
Right. So there's the whole thing.
I don't know.
If you looked at the billboard up there, the television, you could see that it was SOWEST put it together. And SOWEST goes to the city council. SOWEST goes to the state legislature. Scientists now, highly credible.
Yeah. Dr. Chip Fletcher over there has been doing it for years.
They mentioned Gordon Grau's name. He's the leader.
Gordon Grau, exactly, the guy who organized it. Yeah, because there was a conference there earlier in the day that was hosted by Brian Schatz.
Al Gore was there speaking.
Barbara Boxer, Barbara Boxer and other luminaries of the sustainability movement.
Yeah. So they go to the political bodies here in Hawaii, and they've been doing this for a few years, and they've been telling him it's no joke. It's climate change. We got to do stuff. Here's the risk. Here's a chart of how the inundation will proceed across.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you see any infrastructure being built?
No, we have currently no definitive shoreline planning policy for climate change in Kaka'ako or in Waikiki or any of that. We have no current planning for something that seems imminent to most scientists.
Yeah. Well,
and so that's political will. And where does will come from? Well, will usually comes from leadership. And leadership comes from understanding what's going on and then being bold enough to move forward.
Operative word, bold.
Yeah.
It's a political risk.
Yeah.
You know, to have political will. Political will includes political risk.
Well, I call upon all politicians to stop looking at your reelection and start looking at your children's future, because the need to get reelected so overwhelms the political process that most of us in the civil sphere, which I am, are really discouraged by that approach.
A lot of people here. I mean, it's not the same thing as the honorable senator from Missouri who swore there was no climate change. You know,
Yeah.
A lot of people here say, "Oh yeah, it'll come, but not now, and I'm not going to do anything now, and you don't have to do anything now. We'll address it when it comes." I mean, that's not good thinking. But I think a lot of people feel that way. So you have to talk about educating the women. You have to educate the business community, because I agree with you. The business community has a lot to say about this, and it is very influential with the government, and it can generate political consciousness, will, and action. But it doesn't know. It doesn't really accept the immediacy of the problem. You know?
And I agree, because Dr. Art Watley over at the Global Leadership and Sustainable Development Program that I graduated with at HPU, he and I have been working together on a workshop in education for business leaders. And I asked the head of the Hawaii Business Roundtable at one point if he would help me have this kind of education approach to the 50 largest companies in the roundtable. And he said, "You're going to need a champion." And I said, "Well, I'm the champion." He said, "Well, you're going to need another champion." And so,
a political official champion.
Or someone who has more credibility than I do in the sense of in the business world. So I took that to heart.
You have plenty of credibility.
I think I have credibility,
me,
but I'm just saying that in the 50 biggest companies in Hawaii, they're probably looking for a different messenger than a master's degree guy out of HPU. And I'm willing to step up and do it, but even he didn't. He agreed with a lot of what I was talking about, but he wasn't willing to say yes, even though he was the executive director of the Business Roundtable.
Hold that thought. You know, we take another break. We're getting to the really good stuff now.
Good.
This is the core point.
Good.
Okay, Rob Kinslow, Olamana Creations, and also Sustainability Hawaii. We're talking about think tech talks, community matters, sustainability, and intergenerational equity. And we'll be right back after this break, and we'll get to the point about exactly what to do. Left foot, right foot, all that. We'll be right back.
I'm Hong Jiang, host for Asia in Review on Tuesdays.
And I'm David Day, host for Asian Review on Thursdays. Both of us broadcast our respective shows at 4 p.m.
And my topics tend to deal with questions related to environment, culture, history, and sometimes human rights.
And my shows tend to be on international business, foreign policy, geopolitics, and national security. And you can watch our shows live on the ThinkTech website at thinktechhawaii.com.
And you can also watch us on YouTube or Olalo.
So come join us on Thursdays at 4 p.m. I'm David Day.
And on Tuesdays at 4 p.m., I'm Hong Jiang.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Okay, well, here we are. We're back, and we're not talking about any organization with the word sustainability in Hawaii, except for
The Sustainability Association of Hawaii.
Sustainability Association of Hawaii, and it is a nonprofit corporation.
It is a nonprofit.
It's not just a nickname, it's a nonprofit corporation. And Rob Kinslow is a director, and may I say an active director, and an agent, proxy, and spokesman for that company and that idea, and that's really interesting to talk to him. So we have 10 minutes left.
Okay.
So can we get into the left foot, right foot thing about how to proceed? Because people don't do that as much as they should. So if we all agree, you, me, and a lot of other people, and we want to see political action beyond will, will and action, what do we do to change this community? How do we get that infrastructure out there along the beach? How do we take all the steps that have to be taken to deal with climate change? How do we get them done, or at least planned, here in Hawaii?
Yeah.
Starting from a moment after the show is over, how do we do that?
Well, it's going to take leadership from, to move quickly. I think we have to go together, just like a flock of birds in the sky or a flock of fish in a group of fish in the sea.
Hang together or separately?
Yeah.
Ben Franklin.
And there you go.
Nathan Hale, whatever.
And so that puts a lot of pressure on the current leadership and decision makers and policymakers. And so they have to be given permission at some point because of the institutional inertia and the past industrial mindset, which is quantity over quality, and and projects over process. So it's actually quite a big of a shift, and I'm not that hopeful. I'm hopeful. I'm not that optimistic that we're going to do it in time. We're going to have to do a combination of strategies. We're going to have to move as quickly as we can, and then adapt as quickly as we can, and then mitigate along the way, mitigate the damage that we've already done.
Because we didn't move quick enough
we didn't
to
move quick
avoid
enough.
the damage.
Exactly. And then adapt to what's coming at us. Because largely what's coming at us is not in our control. Climate is not in our control. And many of our behaviors as a society aren't in the control of the governor or of the legislators. So those people have a role, but I'm in the community. So I'm out educating community. So I believe that if I can raise the consciousness of the community up in time, then the leaders will start leading.
See, where it gets a little confused.
And so the stepping into this step-by-step approach is hard to do because we've never been confronted with a situation of this magnitude.
Well, any situation of magnitude is a problem in Hawaii. I mean, I'm reminded of any big project is a problem, can't come together, have a big argument, it gets delayed, it doesn't get funded. I mean, you could tick a number of examples off, but including in energy.
If you want to parse it out and make business, I say business should be the leader in this regard.
Yes.
And they should be on the forefront because there's money to be made.
You know the problem, though? I love throwing problems at so deal with it.
Yeah, let's hear it. Yeah.
You know, a lot of the businesses that you're talking about, I mean, that I'm thinking of talking about, are the big ones. You know, the ones in capital concentrations are from the mainland.
Yeah.
And they are, a lot of the big property holders are from the mainland, or their moves in terms of the investment expenditure of funds are made by advisors on the mainland. Yeah. It's not that we have any direct channel or control over them, influence over them. So they take a big box store, which has a number of units here, controlled somewhere on the mainland, and we want them to participate as a business, as you say, a business. It's not that we can go and talk to the managers of those stores. They have no authority. You got to go on the mainland. And then, they may not care.
See, these hierarchical structures that we set up are not adapted for quick agility. Right. They're very ritualistic, and this is the challenge. Everything today is going exponential, whether it's water use or energy use or food volatility or prices of things that we need are going exponential. But our institutions are linear. We still use projections. We don't use backcasting. We don't understand how to move in a transformational, exponential way. Our institutions are set up to be linear. And so we're really behind the ball. Yeah. And I think that's, for me, I have to do an incremental approach. When I go out and market myself to businesses, I have to say, first start on waste. That's an easy one to work with. Then start on efficiency. That's pretty easy too, because it's easy to see. So you building block, in engineering used to have this building block approach. You start small and you make it a little bigger and you make it a little bigger and you make it a little bigger. And so I think the building block approach works here, but the question is it in time? Is it going to be in time? And the answer is no, it's not. So we're going to have to do when you look at disaster preparedness, they're looking at resilience, which is mitigation, adaptation, and transformation. Be able to respond quickly. Democracy is going to have a hard time with that. The deliberative process is going to have
pressure.
This puts
democracy under pressure.
Exactly. But how are we going to get along without democracy? So that's...
Well, we have to modify the democracy.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we do that because of terrorism. We modify the democracy. I mean, who would have thought we'd have these privacy issues 20 years ago? Now we have these privacy issues, and they're very real, and some people even agree with surrendering privacy. Not most people, but anyway, it occurs to me, yesterday in this chair, we had a fellow named Greg Dunn, and he runs the Better Business Bureau. And they have some interesting models. They bring in businesses, And if you are a member of the board or a member of the group of businesses that are involved in a Better Business, it's a new Better Business Bureau, it's not the same.
Oh, that's good to hear.
You know, then you have stake in the game,
Yeah.
and you're more likely to go along with a program and making business ethical and so forth. And if you don't want to do that, you get tossed out. Okay, so there's all kinds of motivation to stay in.
Conformity, yeah.
Yeah, now, and it's really not the same thing, but it just suggests to me that when you go pay a call
Yeah.
on some big box
Yeah.
store, whether it's here or in Kansas
Yeah.
City, you know, you say, look, we have a list, we have a group of businesses in Hawaii who are you know, committed to contribute, committed to help us do this. And you can be on the list or off the list. If you're on the
see.
list, you're going to have big benefits. If you're off the list, you're off the list. Do you know what I mean? You're off the list.
Yeah. Well, if you go to the Sustainability Association of Hawaii website, which is sahhawaii.org, you'll find a list of businesses that have come on board. So that is a good way. Like badging is a good way to get other people on.
Say badging or badgering?
Badging.
Oh, I thought, okay.
Like giving people a gold star for being a part of this movement. And that's one of the approaches that we've done. And but I agree, it's a challenge in how to get Western industrialism to change, because the lure of fossil fuels and of cheap energy is just very alluring.
Yeah, and then you know they have the whole lobbying experience.
Yeah.
Lobbying, I mean it in the largest possible sense. So if I'm a business and it behooves me to oppose some infrastructure or change of government that will and action, you know, that Al Gore spoke about, then I go to the political officials and I lobby them to do nothing.
Yeah.
You know, and that's pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah.
So the organization, Sustainability Association of Hawaii, has to countervail on that.
Yeah.
It has to go to that same political official and say,
Yeah.
you know, they may be telling you to do nothing,
Yeah.
but the stakes are higher
Yeah.
if you do nothing, because we're going to be ticked off at you,
Yeah.
and you will pay a price for ignoring us. I mean, that's the political reality, isn't it?
One of the innovations that we did recently in Hawaii was create what's called a benefit corporation. And the benefit corporation allows the fiduciary, people who are responsible for the fiduciary health of the organization, to consider social effects in the business and without getting a penalization for that. So I would urge any businesses out there in Hawaii who are interested in sustainability to look at the benefit corporation that has been set up in Hawaii, and also to you know, call us up or write to us on our website and talk to us about how we can help you. And
Okay,
if you
well,
want to serve on our board, let us know.
No, you haven't finished that, because I'd like you to talk to them. They're right there. They're on the other side of that lens over there. And tell them what you would tell them. Talk to the business community. Tell them why they should do this, why they should get on board, okay, from you to them.
Okay. Well, Jay's given me an opportunity to speak to you today about the business case for sustainability. And the business case for sustainability is mature. There's plenty of case studies of businesses that are making money and doing good for the earth, and both in Hawaii and outside of Hawaii, around the world. And so there's no reason not to do it, because it gives you credibility in the community. People like you more and will use your business more if you are becoming more sustainable in your business practices. And so I would urge you to take a close look at what is the business case for sustainability. To call up SAH Hawaii and talk to us, and invite us in to talk to your members or your associates, and to even your employees. And let us help you nudge your business and move your business towards sustainability, because it does pay.
And I would add something. I would say, you know, when you talk about an individual person, you're talking about his children.
Yeah.
You're talking about progeny, and his line should
Yeah.
continue on the planet. They should have a decent life and not have to, you know, move to the Rocky Mountains or something. But, you know, when you talk about a business, when you talk about intergenerational equity for a
Yeah.
business, you're talking about its very life. And if the business, and surely the first rule is survival.
Yeah.
So if a business wants to survive
Yeah.
in these transformational times, it better get on board, or it will die.
Yeah.
It will die along with all the trouble that comes when we have unrestrained, unmitigated climate change.
We're basically in the transition point between two paradigms. And the sooner that businesses get on board with that transition, which is called sustainability, the sooner they'll be able to be in the future and to exist in the future, as you say.
Okay, that's Rob Kinslow. Boy, my blood is running
Yeah.
faster now.
Yeah.
Of
Me too.
Sustainability Association of Hawaii here on Think Tech. What a treat. Community matters, it really does. And we're talking about sustainability and intergenerational equity here in Hawaii Nei. Thanks for watching. We'll be back in a moment. We're going to talk with Mark Weinstein about privacy on the internet and with the NSA. We'll be right back.